Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of Pearls of Pedagogy. I'm so happy to be here today. Thank you so much for showing up. I want first of all, I need y'all to go ahead and share where you're watching from in the comments. So if you're Alabama, Tennessee, or if you're in Texas, here with me, just let me know where you're watching from. And if you're watching live, make sure you put a pencil emoji in there to let me know that you're one of my live watchers. And also, if you are watching the replay on YouTube, just drop a thumbs up emoji there in the comments. All right, so today we have a really great show. I'm really excited about interviewing this particular teacher. Have you ever wondered what it's like to completely reinvent your career? Well, just imagine being in a very fast-paced world of being a news producer and a news broadcaster, and then switching careers into being a middle and high school educator that's highly successful. So we're definitely going to interview Miss Tammy Pleasant today. It's going to be an awesome show. I'm really excited to hear her story. I was tempted to let her tell me her story, but I was like, no, I want to hear it the first time today with all of my viewers. So we have a treat today. So first things first, remember, if you are joining, make sure you leave a comment. Let me know where you're watching from so I can shout you out, and let me know, if you're watching live, put that pencil emoji in there. And if you are watching the replay on YouTube, give me the thumbs up emoji. All right. So, um, like I said yesterday in my intro show, I started this show to basically provide something for myself that I didn't have before. And that is some way of like a way for me to have mentors everywhere. And I have like a digital archive that I'm creating of all these interviews of people that are successful in the field of education, whether it's K through 12, whether it's early childhood development, higher ed. I just wanted to have a one-stop shop where people could trust these interviews of people that might be unsung heroes in their profession. So that's what this is. Today is my first official interview with Tammy Pleasant, a secondary teacher here in Texas. And so I'm really excited to be able to um, see her. Oh, hi, Miss Myers. You are in Oakwood, Texas. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much, Miss Myers. Awesome. So, first things first, before I start with the interview, I do want to talk about this article that I read the other day. And the title of the article, it says, "Can paying college tutors help drive interest in teaching?" Can paying college tutors help drive interest in teaching? And so basically this article talks about compensating college students to tutor in K through 12 to try to expand the teaching pool and open their eyes to future careers in education. It's a really interesting article, and it actually highlighted an HBCU, Spelman College, and how they started in 2018. They launched like this high impact literacy tutoring program in partnership with Atlanta Public Schools, and it's called Spell Reads. But it's placed like over 1,500 undergrads in Atlanta Public Schools to tutor, and it's been a really big success. So, on average, the elementary and middle school students who enter the Spell Reads program are 1.5 years behind their grade level in reading. And then, after going through the program for 1 year, these students are actually just less than slightly a semester behind in reading. So, what do y'all think? If I have any teachers that are already in, do you think that, paying college students and those like college level tutors, um, do you think we should pay them to be tutors in K through 12? And do you think that will help solve our teacher shortage? It's really interesting to me. I mean, Oh, hey, Lav. Awesome. Thanks for joining us. He's joining us from Biloxi, Mississippi. We have people from all over. We got Miss Myers from Texas. We have Mr. Bryant Lavender in Biloxi. And then I have my hubby, Mr. Hill, is in Aubrey, Texas, watching. Thank you so much, guys. But yeah, so with that question, um, do you do you think that would help the teacher shortage if we provided some type of compensation for these tutors in college to help with K-12 schools? Because I know now, you don't have a lot of people that are just running to be a teacher, right? And I I'm sure there are plenty of reasons for that, but what do y'all think? I don't know. I definitely think that, tutors should be paid, period. Especially if they're college level and they are, working with students K through 12. I think that we should definitely take a look at that to see if it's, it wouldn't hurt, it would not hurt for us to kind of try that out in more school districts. But that's something really interesting. Awesome. So, that is like the first little story, but there was something. It says that Spell reads that now this is what I was talking about earlier in Spelman College's program with Atlanta Public Schools. So they pay their undergrads $300 per semester to individually tutor Atlanta Public Schools students for 3 hours a week. And it also provides free transportation to the undergrads to consistently visit the schools. And it actually hired 60 Spelman students to tutor across 6 different schools. And it was often during the school day because, when you're in college, you might not have a class on a Tuesday and Thursday until like 1 o'clock. So that's plenty of time for you to possibly go in and get that experience and make some money and actually change the lives of some students, right? Um, and I think that was really crucial. The fact that they provide transportation to these tutors is awesome. So they provide the transportation and they pay $300 a semester. And that's not like, crazy money. However, you can go really far with the fact that you have consistent um, work in one place during your college career. You can meet a lot of people. That's a good um, networking tool. So I think that's a good idea. They pay them $300 a semester. That might pay for a book or half of a book, depending on your major. But I think that's a really good idea, and especially the transportation being provided. All right, so a couple of things. Like yesterday, I talked about kind of my journey in the world of education so far, and one of the things that really, I guess I that really impacted me when I first moved to Texas was the fact that it was just totally different. So I have a little story time, y'all. A little story time. Um, story time, because it was a little rough when we first moved here. So moving here from Alabama, and when I say here, I'm talking about Texas. Moving here, I was driving a little Hyundai Accent. Those are very small cars. I don't think they even make them anymore. That's what I was told. I just recently sold mine. They don't sell them anymore. Anyway, it's a very small, compact car. However, very efficient. It got me where I needed to go. We moved here, North Dallas area, and the speed limit is like 90 miles per hour. I almost got ran off the road my first day of going to school. I thought I was going to die. I could not believe that all these people were driving so fast. That was a huge difference in moving here. But it was like everybody was driving so fast, but you still have to leave like an hour and a half early to get where you have to go on time. So would leave the house like I think 6:30, 6. No, it was closer to 6. It was always dark. I'll say that. It was always dark when I left the house. Getting on the highway to the school because normally it was dark when I got to the school. And that traffic was something I've never seen before in my life. So that was a big culture shock on top of what we talked about yesterday, where, the students, they have a whole Texas pledge. And nobody briefed me on this. Nobody said anything. Nobody pulled me to the side and said, "Hey, by the way, you need to keep standing for an extra minute because there's an additional pledge that the students recite every morning." So that was really interesting. So, um, but another story that I had. So, I almost got ran off the road when we first moved here. Secondly, our school where I taught. Now, this school, since then, this has been rectified, but I noticed it was a little hot. I get there, it's a little hot, right? Turns out that the air conditioning is broken in the school. Now, I made an assumption that, okay, the air is broken. Somebody's going to fix it, right? Somebody's going to fix the air. Students are sweating, they're complaining, and I'm in a middle school. So, for anybody who has never taught in a middle school, never set foot in a middle school, it's like they are very big toddlers, okay? So, the complaining was just overwhelming, right? It's hot. Turns out that some people came to basically investigate why the air in the school was not working. Turns out that the way the school is built, the main portion of the air conditioning system that was broken and needed to be worked on was actually underneath the school building. So when they made that announcement, we're thinking, oh, they're going to just close the school down maybe during the weekend or a week and they're going to fix the air, right? No. They said, we can't do that because it will be way too much. They're gonna have to wait until summer. This was September, y'all. School had just started. It was easily 110 degrees my first day of going into the school, and we had no air. Not only did we would not have any air, the windows in the classroom where I was working did not open all the way. It opened like this much. So I was like, what is happening? And then on top of that, news cameras started showing up in front of the school after school. So the kids are running to the cameras waving. Teachers are going out the back door. We're hiding our faces. I'm laughing about it now, but during the time I was just like, it felt like I was in a Hollywood movie because I moved to Dallas thinking, oh, they've got so much money in this district. We're going to have the like top of the line supplies and classrooms. And I'm in a school where my ear doesn't even work, y'all. That was rough, but it broke me into teaching in Texas because I think they like waived our teacher dress code a little bit. They just got a little more lax on it where we could wear shorts. I still didn't wear shorts because I'm really conservative as a teacher as far as like my attire. Like I just couldn't see myself just wearing shorts to teach. Um, but it was really interesting. And then there was one of our students, she got on the news one night and of course all the teachers shared the news story in our group me and they asked the young lady, oh, so how is it, being in the school with no air, because everybody's ticked off about the air not working. And she was like, it's hot, the water fountain's hot, the bathroom's hot, everything is hot except for our food. It was so It was hilarious. It was, like, sadly hilarious. But that was a little story time from me teaching here in Texas, my first school in Texas, and I really felt like I was in a movie. I just could not believe it, that we didn't have air, and it was like, apparently how they built the school, they built it with too few of these wells that are underneath the school. Like, how do you do that? How does an architect get away with, doing that? It was just the craziest thing. But I will never forget it. And I really love that first school. Like the teachers that worked there, they were like that my family. I really enjoyed working with them. There were some cool people. Okay, you guys, make sure you are sharing where you're watching from. And if you are watching live, drop a pencil emoji. If you're watching the re-air of this episode on YouTube, just drop a thumbs up emoji, okay? So that we know when you watched. All right. So next up, we want to go into this interview. I'm really excited. I see I've got her waiting on us. I'm really excited about interviewing Miss Tammy Pleasant because when I found out that she used to be a news producer and field journalist, I was like, oh my goodness, that is really cool. So I am going to be interviewing her shortly. We're going to get some good questions in to find out how she transitioned from her work in corporate America into education. And I've heard really great things about her teaching style. She's awesome, y'all. So I'm really excited. Now, let's get ready for our interview. We're gonna have my little, I love my little jam that I play. So just shortly, we'll invite her in. You guys, let's get ready. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I am great. How are you doing, Ms. Pleasant?
I'm good. I'm good.
Awesome. I just want to first thank you for being here today. I really appreciate you being my very first interviewee.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Yes, yes. So, first, I want you to just give like a short, um, like kind of like an introduction on how you started, like your first career, right before you went into education, kind of like what led into that.
Okay. So, of course, I did not go to school for education. I went to school, I have an undergraduate degree in radio, TV, film, and broadcast journalism from St. Houston State. And then I think it's been about 5 years, maybe, I've got my master's in education. Um, and so, of course, I started out in television industry and then left there, moved to Dallas in, I think it was 98, towards the end of 98,
Mhm.
and worked at Bank of America and then went into teaching for the first time then in 99. And
Wow.
then I took a long sabbatical. I went into teaching. I taught high school formerly
Mhm.
in the Dallas area and two different districts in the Dallas area. And so I left there and stayed in education, but started working for the Dallas County Community College District. I think they're called Dallas Colleges now. Um,
Oh, okay.
but yeah, I worked for Richland for a while. And so I was in education for a while and then left there and that's how I went to corporate America for a while.
Mhm.
Worked for Target corporate offices. And then I worked for the American Heart Association 10 years prior to me returning to teaching.
Mm.
And so while I was working towards the end of my career at the American Heart Association, I just felt led to go back and get my master's. And, because life happens, things happen. I started
Yeah.
out teaching long ago, single, not married, and then got married and had kids. And then, things just shift and change for you. And then got my master's, and then God led me back to the classroom. So took a little break, but I'm back.
Yes. Okay. I want to kind of talk about that break that you took. And so, was the break after children or before? It-
The break was actually before children. I
Okay.
got married. Yeah, I got married in 2004. And so the break was, pre-children,
Mhm.
pre-marriage, all of that good stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I was still single and had a great opportunity. So I act outside of teaching. And so I had a great opportunity to go and pursue my acting full time at that time. And
Oh, wow.
so, yeah, so I did that. And then once I was into corporate America, that's when I was married and had kids and all those things. And,
Mhm.
came off tour with the acting and all of that stuff. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
So, Okay, so when you first decided to go into teaching, when you got your master's, you already had children when you decided to pursue your master's. Can you talk about like some of the ways that you were able to balance being mom and going back to school? Because I know like I've tried to do that myself. I've taken a break. Can you kind of talk about some things that helped you and your family kind of navigate that time when you went back to get your master's?
Yeah, the greatest thing was I was able to do it all online. So I don't think I would have been able to do that before. I know when I first was teaching back in the 90s, and they had a completely different type of certification, because if folks don't know, I think it's after either 5 or 10 years. If you leave teaching and you come back in like a 5 or 10 year stint, you have to get recertified again.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so
you
I
have to
had to
take a
do
test
that.
again.
Exactly. And so it was completely different from when I first started teaching back in like 99, where I was able to go into, I had to go into classes. Of course, they had the little branches all over Dallas where you could go.
Mhm,
But this time I was able to get my master's and then finish up whatever I needed to get certified, but I was able to do it all online. I never
okay.
had, the only time I ever had to set foot on campus after I got into my master's, of course, I went before, was graduating, when I actually went to graduate and, get hooded and get my master's and everything. So doing it online was a
Mhm,
blessing. It was very hard because I was still teaching.
mm,
I came back into teaching in 2018, and happened very quickly. And I
mm,
was into getting my master's at that time. And so I then had to go from having more time in corporate America to be able to do my studies than
mm,
trying to plan lessons and grade papers and
hmm,
respond to conversations and stuff online when you get your master's and stuff like that. So it was definitely an adjustment. Lots of late nights, lots of no sleeping.
mhm,
um,
right, I know.
yeah, but thankfully I have a great husband that helped deal with our sons and their sports and all that. And so he coaches them a lot. And so that
Good.
worked out well. But again, it was still lots of late nights because I still wanted to be involved in what they were doing as well.
Wow, okay, yes, because I can only imagine if you had to actually drive to a campus,
Yeah.
and take classes and most likely at night,
Yeah.
and that's why I had to take a break because the program that I was in, I had to be in person and driving all the way to downtown Dallas from where I live north of Dallas every night after teaching all day, that was really rough, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Okay, I need a break." So, I'm really glad that you were able to do that, and pursue online. So, I wanna jump back to your world, like your career in journalism that you
Mhm.
had. Can you kind of talk about some of the similarities between the work that you did in journalism and what you do now as a teacher?
Yes. So definitely in journalism, you have to be a self starter. Um,
Mhm,
Nobody, they'll show you the ropes at the beginning, and I was in a smaller market, and yes, it was years ago, but it's just the same thing,
mhm,
where they show you the ropes and that's it. Nobody is holding your hand. Nobody is telling you, oh, I want you to check your beats this way. And when I say check beats, that's when you're calling around to see, of course, this was old school. Now they do everything AP.
uh-huh,
But you're checking to see what's newsworthy, what you want to go cover locally, or what's happening nationally or state that we're localizing or something at at the television station. So you had to definitely be a self-starter, go out there and be hungry for it, do your own thing, do your own techniques, but still staying within the guidelines of the station.
mhm,
And it's the same thing with school. You have to be organized, you have to be disciplined, you have to get to work on time, all those things. And you have people that are depending on you. In the journalism world, you have that producer, you have that tape editor, you have that director, those people depending on you to get that story and get it done in a timely manner. Same thing in
mhm,
education, your babies are depending on you. It is not about you. We have bad
mhm.
days, we wake up and we're like, oh my gosh, I don't feel like going to work, and I've had those too. And it's not about me. Those
Mhm,
babies are
right.
depending on us to do those things. And so it's the same thing with journalism. I experienced in that before. Even when I was producing the news, um, I had a duty to be able to connect with the viewers, even before it was that I was doing the little bit of field reporting that I did, because most of my stint was tape editing and producing, so behind the scenes. But you
Mhm.
have a duty to serve your audience. And I had a duty to do that as a journalist, to serve my audience, as a producer and a journalist. And then now I'm doing that as well with my students, and not only my students, but my parents, my
Right.
peers, my team, all of those things. But the biggest thing I think is being a self-starter, being organized, being on time, being dependable. All those things
Mhm.
weave into any career that you're in.
Mhm.
But definitely, those are traits that I had to carry over from corporate America and being in the television industry.
Awesome, awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, so are you currently teaching middle school or are you in high school right now?
I am teaching middle school. When I came back in 2018, I came back as a middle school teacher instead of a high
Ooh.
school teacher. I know. It was definitely an adjustment. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, I am teaching middle school now.
Mhm.
And so I teach something that's similar to Avid. I don't know if you've heard of Avid before, but it's campus specific and it's in my district. So I'm in the Allen Independent School District, but it's called Tracks, and it's basically we're teaching the kids, we're supporting them socially, academically, we're getting them ready for college, for different careers and all of
Mm.
those different things. Lots of the soft skills, conflict resolution and all those great
Mhm.
things. And so I am back teaching seventh grade. So I've kind of
Oh.
shifted from seventh and eighth grade. I started when I came back in 2018, I was teaching English. Okay, I was
Oh,
teaching English
okay. I
language
see.
arts, yeah, for eighth graders. And so then that was in another district. And then once I moved over to Allen, I started teaching seventh grade. And so this is actually going to be my second year, though, teaching this tracks program, which is kind of an Avid program, but it's
Mhm.
Avid for everybody at our campus. Like every
Oh,
student has to
okay.
take this class. Yeah.
That is really good because I've, of course, heard of Avid when we moved here to Texas. And I'm like, wow, everybody should have that. But like you said, you had to apply and you had to be within a certain demographic. Um, but I really think those soft skills are really needed. And
Very
so,
much
what
so.
has been your experience when you started teaching this course? What were some things that really helped kind of show you like, whoa, everybody needs this? Like, what are
Yeah,
some things that you see?
it's been I feel like since the pandemic, a lot of students, it's been a struggle. The class is great,
Mhm.
but not even before I started teaching this tracks class, I just really saw the struggle of the certain skills that students just need to socialize. Students are still getting used to being in person and having to
Yeah.
socialize and not wanting to be by themselves. And so in this
Right.
class, of course, we are teaching conflict resolution. We are teaching team building. Um, we are teaching you communication skills, all those
Mhm.
things. And there are sometimes when we teach certain things and you can just see the nonverbal gestures or the body language of the kids, like, oh
They trying to
gosh, I'm
like,
gonna have to, yeah. And I'm like, and I tell them all the time, I'm like, y'all, these are life skills. And the good thing is I'm
right.
able to connect with them to let them know, hey, I have to do this at work too. I go to
Mhm.
staff meetings and I'm just honest with them and I tell them, I'm like, you're not going to like everybody you work with. You're
Right.
just not. It's great for you to like everybody who's on your team. And thanks be to God, I do. That is the case. But there are some people at my job, it's huge. It's lots of teachers that I don't get to come into contact with all the time. And so, yeah, when we have faculty meeting, I may not want to be grouped up with them just because, not that I don't like them, but sometimes we don't know them
Yeah.
and we're out of our comfort zone. And so the
Mhm.
struggle has been pulling those kids to get them out of their comfort zones and being like, no, you're going to have to talk to Sally,
Right.
because you just have to, this is a life skill. Like, you can't just be by yourself all the time. So
Mhm.
that has been a struggle of getting, I won't say a struggle, I'll say a challenge of getting the kids to learn to reconnect again in
Mm.
person and to put the phones away and to
Right.
disconnect that way, to talk to a real person, you
Mm,
know.
right.
And some adults need that too.
Right, yes.
you
I've
know,
noticed that too.
Yes. But so that has been the thing, is like the big, I think, struggle is getting the students used to talking to people in person,
Mhm.
and meeting new people and getting out of their little comfort zones and their circle of friends that they're always used to hanging out with.
Yes. One of our viewers, Tasha Washington, said that middle school is an interesting age to teach.
It is. It's very interesting because, especially with seventh grade, because in
Mhm.
Allen, seventh grade starts middle school. In former districts I've been in, middle schools are usually sixth, seventh, and eighth. So
Right.
we're still having to transition them from, no, you are not in elementary school anymore. And like, yes,
Wow.
you're going to different classes now in seventh grade. Yes, there is a tardy, like, we, of course, you give them grace the first week. You're not counting tardies. But then after a while, it's like, you need to learn how to stop talking to your friends and
Yes.
get here on time. That type of
Right.
stuff. Like, it's a large school. And so that transition is hard too. Plus, they're still seventh grade. They're still learning a lot of like who they are. They kind of feel like they're grown, and
Mm.
all those type of things that they're
Right.
dealing with, figuring out who they are. And it's a large transition because the kids also start to have to learn that they have to try out for sports. Okay, they
Yep.
in elementary, they've probably been in an association or a city league where they can just, their parents pay for them to do the sport and they get to play the
Right.
sport. So I had to talk to kids about that, and that transition about, you know, you tried out and no, you didn't make it this time, but what can we learn from this that we can build upon and work on, so that when it comes back again, you can try out again and hopefully
Mhm.
make the team, or, you still learn. So that has been a major shift that I saw this last year too, just getting the kids used to trying out for sports
Mhm.
or different
Wow.
organizations.
Yes, and Texas is a very competitive state to
Yes.
participate in as far as sports. And Allen, I know my viewers that are not from Texas, if you have never heard of Allen Independent School District, you're already like there are a lot of NBA players, NFL, especially NFL players that have come through Allen High School.
Yeah.
And so it's super competitive.
Yes,
Um,
very, very much so. Yeah. And
wow.
large. It's so large. And that's what makes
Yes.
it, even more competitive, because everybody can't play.
Mhm.
You have your different teams, A team, B team, C team. Some schools just have
Mhm.
an A and a B team. Well, Allen, we have A, B,
Right.
C teams. So it's competitive
Mhm.
everywhere. And so
Mhm.
just teaching those kids to, still be confident in their skills and their talents, no matter what so and so said about you. It's a challenge. It's
Mm.
definitely a challenge.
Wow. So I want to get back to, that transition teach from where you taught in high school and then when you came back you taught in middle school. Can you maybe for teachers out there that are contemplating wanting to make a change like that, going from middle school to or going from high school to middle school, can you talk about some of the key differences that you saw as a teacher
Yeah.
and some things to keep in mind?
Sure. So the big thing is the maturity level.
Mhm.
Of course, I left high schoolers who, if I was absent, I'm not absent. I don't miss work a lot because, as I do, sometimes it's harder to take off than it is to,
Right.
to be at work. You got
Right.
to do your sub plans and all that stuff. But I left from teaching high school where if I needed to call in or go to the doctor, whatever the appointment was where I had to miss school, yes, you have your sub plans, but I don't think I was detailed, but I didn't have to worry about as much because I could always put, my sub plans would change, like, oh, so and so can help run the class because I dealt with 16, 17, 18-year olds,
Right.
A lot of my classes in high school, I was a yearbook and newspaper advisor. So those classes pretty much ran themselves with the students
Mhm.
selling ads and taking pictures and doing those things. Whereas with middle school, I feel like my sub notes are longer because I'm
Yes.
telling you, I'm having to tell them, watch out for such and such. They can be chatty or whatever it is,
Mhm.
because there's just that maturity level. There's more that you have to um, stay on top of.
Right. Yeah.
Kids are less self-starters in middle school. In high school, they're going to come in, they're going
Mhm.
to be responsible. They know what's expected of them, right?
Mhm.
But of course, with middle schoolers, you're reminding those things over and over and over again. So it's just some of those things where there's just that maturity difference and that age difference. And kids are just in a different place in their educational career from high school as
Right.
opposed to middle school. Yeah.
Right. I recently transitioned where I taught 5th grade ELA. And I always taught ELA in 7th grade or 8th grade. And mm-mm, I went down and I told my principal, great principal, I really loved him. He's like my top 3. I said, look, you're the only reason why I did this because I was apprehensive before, but after going through that year, I was like, oh my goodness, how do y'all do this? I cannot deal with they were too little. And it wasn't even like of course I expected a maturity difference, but it was just the hand holding that I had to do. Like I had to walk
Yes.
them to specials. I had to walk them and stay with them at lunch. I didn't just like bye that we do in middle school.
Oh
Like you got to
no.
get yourself to wherever you got to go. I had to walk them everywhere. And me, I'm thinking like, oh, well, my classroom management is like top notch. So one day I told my students, I said, hey, do y'all think you are mature enough to walk yourselves to the library for our library day? Yes, Miss Hill, we're good. We're good. We can walk out there down there. I was like, are you sure? Because I've been, you've had some questionable behavior in other instances, like the bathroom, because it was always, they had some kind of like water challenge in the bathroom. It got on my nerves.
Oh my
So
goodness.
this one day I said, okay, I'm going to try to trust you all go to the library. You know when you need to come back. Child, I got a call so fast from the librarian. She said, Miss Hill, were you going to come here with your class?
Oh my gosh.
I said, well, they told me they were mature. She was like, yeah, no, they need somebody down here to walk them through the hallway.
Yeah, what
I
you
went,
don't want is to be on the bad side of the library and like, no, we
no,
don't want this class to come down.
no. I was like, I'm so sorry. I went down there. You would have thought I was like Big Mama. If I could have had a switch just to show it, I was like, y'all know not to come down here embarrassing me. They
I
were turning
know.
flips down the hallway. The third grade teachers were talking about how loud they were. I was just like, I can't trust y'all to go down. We're not even in a big school. And that's when I knew,
Right.
I said, I need to go to middle school because I could like having to walk y'all. I can't because I was like, I
Yeah.
gotta use the restroom. I need to
Yeah.
have a drink of water by myself.
I
So
get it. I
yes, that was
love the kids, and I like the littles, but if they're like my little nieces or my little nephews or, or
family.
just general, yeah, family or just other younger kids, but I can't, that's not my gift to teach
Yes.
the littles. Okay. Now reading to them and doing stuff on, that I can do on my own, but like to teach them all day, every day. No, no, that's not what he told me to do.
Yes, right. That's not my
No,
ministry. That
that's
is
not my
not my
ministry.
ministry.
Okay. Amen.
Yes. And Tasha Washington, she's back. She says if you teach middle school or kindergarten, you can do anything.
That part.
I've heard everything. And when you were talking about the difference between that 7th graders, how it can be different. So when they're the middle of the middle school students, it's just like this really interesting time. But for whatever reason, I really like the 7th graders in a middle school setting.
Yeah.
They've gotten used to what they're supposed to be doing. Like they know, okay, I have to be here at this time,
Mhm.
but they haven't gotten so far gone. Like the 8th graders can be sometimes where they're like, "Ugh, I'm the big dog on campus again."
Right. Like you can't
So,
tell me nothing. You can't tell me
right.
anything. It's
Exactly.
pleasant.
I'm like,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
mm-mm.
Yeah.
I can tell you something. I can tell you that you need to put on an extra layer of deodorant when you come back to my
Oh my
classroom.
god.
Yes.
Don't even. Woo.
I'm
Yes.
like,
That's the
what is
thing with the middle
happening?
school. Yes. Yes. Oh
The
my.
odors. You have
Yes.
to be so sensitive because I mean, I remember the first time I smelt myself being musty. And I was like, and nobody told me I was musty, but I
Right.
smelled it. And
Right.
I said, okay, maybe everybody doesn't smell themselves. And you're young, you're not really paying attention.
Yep.
But I had to start giving just like a public service announcement. All right, I smell something. and it smells like a cheeseburger with onions, but I have no cheeseburger and I have no
With
onion in
extra
my class
onions.
with extra hot steaming onions.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
and that's when I
Yeah.
started keeping my little deodorants in my classroom, like the little trial size, and just
Yes.
keeping a few in there. So just in case, like, look, but
Just yeah.
sometimes I'm like,
Oh yeah, I keep little.
yes,
I have a wax melt that I keep. Actually, the kids love coming in each day. They're like, "Oh my god!"
yes.
They like argue with each other. It smells like hot tamales in here. No, it
I,
smells like strawberry short. Oh, it smells like yogurt. It smells. I'm like, okay, and I'm thinking to myself, it smells like anything other than
you
body odor in here today.
right,
No onions today. Okay.
right on your
Yeah, but I do. I just kind of like
yes,
the good scent. But not only that, it's kind of that welcoming, homey
yeah,
type of, that it's important, your classroom
right,
environment and all that. So that
right.
helps.
I love having my room, and the kids are like, "Oh, your room smells so good," and I
Mhm.
just like it comforts me, and I'm sure it helps the student.
Yes. Yes, I love
Um,
that. And you can get the different scents I do it for the different times of the year. And,
yes,
it just helps you get in the mood of,
hmm
fall and all that stuff. So I enjoy having my wax melts. And even staff will comment to me like, I smell that all the way down the hall. It smells so good. Or your room always
yes,
smells good. So I'm like, yes, good.
awesome. So I want to kind of hear some more. I want because you've been doing this a long time, even though teaching has like become like your second career. You are an OG. So I'm just like you've been in the game a long time. So I would love to hear um something that you would tell yourself as a first time teacher. Like if you could, knowing what you know now, what would you have said your very first? This was back when you were a high school teacher.
Yeah.
Like what are some things that you would tell yourself now that you know what you know?
That it's okay to make mistakes. Um, you're not perfect.
Mhm.
And that education is definitely going to change. And you have to be able to change as it changes. You can't stay in your same little comfort zone.
Mhm.
And, I never would have thought that I would have left education and came back. I never would
Mhm.
have thought that, I probably would have told myself, you think you're going to be teaching high school forever, but no, you're going to go to to the littles. But basically, I think just, I would have told myself, don't be afraid of change. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. You will learn so much from not only your team members and your
Mhm.
administrators, but from your students.
Mhm.
Um, and you will grow, and your students will give you that extra breath of life that you need when you're ready to quit.
Mhm. Ooh,
Yeah.
that's awesome. So, okay, so you have what, two sons, right?
Yes. Yes. I have two sons. I have a rising seventh grader and a rising senior.
Ooh, okay. More
Yes.
power to you.
Yes.
All
Yes.
right, because I have a rising senior as well. You know him.
Mhm. Yes, Lord Jesus, yeah.
They're going through another. It's like this new. I don't know. We'll have to discuss that another time because it's
I
like
know, that's why I'm
another.
like, we'll have to talk
Yes,
offline. We'll support each other because yeah,
yes.
I'm not
It's
ready.
different. I didn't. Yeah, I'm not ready.
I'm not ready,
Okay,
but it's here, so,
right. So, have your sons ever attended the school where you teach, like while you're teaching there?
No, they
Never.
haven't. I actually, when my rising senior was in middle school, I was in a different district. And now that
Ah,
I'm in the same district as them, my seventh grader has the opportunity to come to my middle school, but he's going to go where he's supposed to go. As far as like where we live, he wants to go
oh,
to
okay.
his regular middle school and be with his friends. And I totally get it.
Right.
Um, and I want to allow him to do that. I mean, there are some teachers on my campus, they want their kids over there and but I'm like, no,
Mhm.
he's good over there. And, even if he was on my campus, I don't know. I think kids would only know just because I don't have a very, our last name is different. So they'd automatically put together, oh, Pleasant and
Ah.
Pleasant, and probably be like, is that your son? But other than that, I wouldn't broadcast it. He wouldn't be coming to my room all the time. Like, I just don't, I wouldn't play that. Like, I'm a teacher here, you're a student here. Like, of course, if you need something, if it's an emergency, that's
Mhm.
different. But we're not just going to be rolling up in mom's room,
Yeah.
doing that type of thing. But no, he will be going to his to the middle school that he's supposed to be going to if I
Okay.
wasn't in Allen Independent School District. And then, of course, since I'm not teaching high school anymore and I'm not at the high school, of course, I'm not there with the oldest son. So, no, I've never experienced that.
Okay. So when you first started teaching, were you in a district smaller than Allen when you first
A
began
little,
teaching?
yeah. When I first began, I was in Plano Independent School District. So
Okay.
they're a little, they're still a larger
Yeah,
district.
they're
But
big.
of course their schools and stuff are a little smaller than, than of course Allen has the one high school. So,
Right.
but
Huge.
yeah, I was teaching at Murphy Middle School when I was in Plano
Okay.
Independent School District. Yeah.
Okay, because I was gonna ask,
Mhm.
like, if there was, like, a big difference in, switching from a smaller district to a larger district as far as how they
Um,
handled things. Because I know I went from a large district to a small district, and it was like night and day. So,
yeah.
I didn't know if you had, like, if you noticed a big difference.
I don't think so. They
Mhm,
handled everything kind of the same. I didn't see anything really that just jumps out at me. Of
mhm,
course, just the way that it's structured is different because at
mhm.
Murphy there was sixth, seventh, and eighth graders at the middle school, whereas in Allen it's all the middle schools are just seventh and eighth grade.
Right.
So
Mm,
that's just the different from a structure standpoint. But as far as like the way things, are ran and from administrative standpoint, nothing really sticks out at me from from that's different going from a slightly smaller district to a larger one.
okay. All right. So, a few more questions I have. I want you to kind of talk about like your actual teaching style. So, could you talk about maybe how your style has changed over the years and like how you have evolved as a teacher
Okay.
in the classroom?
Of course, we have to move with or change with the times, and so a lot of the I still like to do a lot of I don't like to do too much teacher led instruction because I feel like kids when they're teaching each other and in those groups and I can have student led instruction, it's going to stick better. But my teaching
Mhm.
style is I'm just down to earth with my kids. I'm very welcoming. It kind of goes twofold or hand in hand with my classroom management and
Mhm.
things. But everything is like with technology. Even I still group the students so that they can have that student to student level of communication and teaching each other
Mhm.
and student led instruction, and so they can really those things can stick with them. But of course, you have to do things differently because in Allen and I think in lots of districts we're one to one with devices, so every student has a
Mm,
device,
right.
and we don't do much paper anymore
Mhm.
unless we just have to. And so your groups look different. Whereas before they're grouped and maybe they have paper or they're talking more. And here it's like one person at least has the computer
Right.
when they're grouped together and stuff. But my main thing is just basically making sure that my students, I try to teach in a way that connects them to the learning
Mhm.
personally, where they can connect to it personally to hook them in at the beginning. Of course, we always like to get
Mhm.
that hook. If we can get the
Yeah.
buy-in, then it'll stick and they're like, oh, I'm going to pay attention and I'm going to really like this and can use this. But teaching has definitely changed over the years. I feel like before it was more, I'm going to stand here and lecture because that
Mhm.
was just the old school thing and give you this paper and then you figure it out. And yes, you can partner up, but now we're integrating things. We have videos that we're using now to hook the kids. So I'm pulling all that into my teaching style. I love to hook the kids with some type of video, some
Mm.
type of game, something. So that's mainly my teaching style with the hands-on and with yeah, it's teacher led, but it's mainly going to be the students taking control of their learning and teaching each other, helping each other.
Yes, I like that, and I do love a good hook, especially when we start our writing
Mhm.
next next school year. I I love our hook lesson, like teaching them how to write a really good hook and
Yeah.
showing them examples of it. Okay, here's your
Yes.
video. It's just like a trailer. Give me your trailer. Like, what are you going to say?
Exactly. Yep,
I love
modeling
it.
for them. I do lots of that too. Lots of
Mhm.
modeling. Kids need that,
They
something to look
do.
and model after. And again, you have those kids that will just you have to tell them, you
Mhm.
have to create your own. Do not copy this. This is
Right.
only to show you how to do it. And so you have those students that still are in that, oh, I want the easy way out. But
Mhm.
modeling is great for the kids, walking them through things, giving them examples of
Mhm.
things. And, like you said, those
Right.
model text. I know I'm a tracks teacher now, but I'm still always going to be on the writing side. And those, if anything I can model, whether it's writing or showing them something, conflict resolution, or however I need
Mhm.
to integrate it within whatever it is I'm teaching, I'm going to do that.
Okay, awesome. So with your teaching style and making it more student led, um I think about like the parents, right? I think about like how a lot of teachers, especially new teachers, that I've been able to work with or even mentor, it was really tough for them to have conversations at all with parents, especially if it was a tough conversation. What are some tips that you would give a new teacher, or even if it's a teacher that's not so new that finds it difficult to have conversations with parents, when they're like really scared to talk about maybe a challenge that their student is having?
I would say definitely think about whatever it is you're going to say before you say it. Kind of write some notes. Hopefully, if you're having to have those difficult conversations, whether if there's something that one of the students has been doing, hopefully you've been keeping, I don't want to say a log, but at least some notes of different things, because when you talk to parents, they're going to want to know, okay, how long has this been going on, or why am I just figuring this out, just those different things that you
Mhm.
want to, so that you have a good support system. I also would recommend, especially for new teachers, talk to some of your colleagues, talk to your mentor. Okay, most of the new teachers in districts, you have a mentor that you can talk to about this, or
Mhm.
even if you're not, even if you're a second year teacher, or third year teacher, or even fifth year we all have different experiences that come up during the year that maybe we've never seen before, even as a veteran teacher. Use
Mhm.
your colleagues to help you. You never know if it's something that they've had before, that they've dealt with before. But me, myself, I've had to deal with some difficult parents. And sometimes you deal with those parents who it's like, it's never their kid's fault. Their kid is
Right.
not doing that, whatever that is that you were saying. So, um, me personally, I'm a believer. Of course, I this is something, of course, where as teachers, we're not able to be emoting what we believe on our students, but I pray about everything that I do. And even when it
Mhm.
comes to talking to the parents, or before talking to the parents,
Mhm.
I need that. I pray over my
Yeah.
students, my classroom, all of that. And so I think
Mhm.
prayer is key, to be able to help you use the right words and
Right.
your emotions
You gotta
in check.
ground yourself.
Exactly. And so parent teacher conferences now are way different than they were back in the day when I first started teaching. It was in person, or it was on the
Right.
phone. Okay.
Mhm.
Now it's like, oh, we're going to schedule a Zoom. Where you can actually see each other. Very seldom nowadays we have any in-person meetings, whether they are
Right.
504s, whether they are ARDs, whether they are parent teacher
Mhm.
conferences. A lot of them are on Zoom.
Mhm.
And so it's that is another added layer of things that you have to deal with there. But
Right.
I definitely would, before I speak to a parent, I've made sure that I've tried to do everything I can first with the
Mhm.
student on whether they're talking a lot. I'm going to have a conversation with you first, especially with me dealing with middle schoolers, because you
Mhm.
want to give the kid a chance to correct themselves. We as
Right.
teachers, we don't have time to call the parent and contact the parent for everything. So any of the
Mhm.
new teachers, I would give you that advice that you don't have to call the parent for every little thing. Talk to little Johnny or whomever first, a few
Right.
times and then see if it can be handled that way. But just listen, make sure that you're approachable, make sure that you're not going into the conversation with an attitude, because just
Right.
like students can read that, a parent can
Mhm.
read that, and you don't, neither one of you wants to go in on the defense mode.
Right.
So just be an active listener, and just like I said, pray to keep those emotions in check, because
Mhm.
sometimes you deal with those parents who it's the teacher's fault, it's not their student's
Right.
fault. It can be black and white on paper, but it's still going to be our fault. And so
Mhm.
knowing how to conduct yourself accordingly can be a challenge.
Right. Yes, and like what you said about, talking to the students first, that's really important because even as a parent, I I trust the teacher to know what they're doing. So I'm not going to hover over them. I'm not going to be like a helicopter parent. I'm not going to expect you to contact me for every single infraction that my child has. I kind of expect you to be able to deal with it. And then when it feels overwhelming for you, then pull me in.
Exactly.
Um, and that's kind of how I treat it, especially in middle school. Because, and I have a conversation every year at the beginning of the year.
Hmm.
Hey, when it's time for like when I have my little slideshow to introduce myself, hey, these are some of my non negotiables.
Yep.
Okay. Now, you all are old enough for me to talk to you and for us to try to come to an agreement. If you have an issue, we should be able to talk about it.
Yep.
However, there are some things I still have to go straight to your parents about. And there are other things like if I feel like that our communication is not working, then I'm going to have to pull your parents in. And so
Yeah.
that's what I do. I tell them like, okay, is this something that you and I can handle, or is this
Hmm.
something that I need to pull in with your parents? And 99.99
Oh yeah.
times out of 10, they're like,
Yeah,
oh,
they
we
don't.
got it. Don't call my parents. Even the ones that are like the big and bad and all that. They're if I say anything about calling parents,
Oh,
no, they try to find another solution really quickly. All of a sudden,
exactly. Yeah. So it's good to talk to the kids and let them, and then I usually will follow up with saying, this is the last conversation I'm going to have with you. The next one is going to be, me emailing your parents to let them know, because we follow up with emails before we go to a parent teacher conference. So, middle school, there's
Mhm.
different things where they can have lunch detentions and
Mhm.
all these different things. And even with tracks, we have what's called cougar time, and so we have a
Mhm.
behavior initiative at our school. And so the kids have a little card, a cougar card. It's a different color each week, and
Mhm.
if they get three cougars, because we're the cougars, if they get three of those paws xed out on the back of their card, they have to go to cougar time detention. So every Friday they have cougar time where they can pick an activity they want to do, whether it's to go outside, whether it's to go to a Zen Den room where there's soft music, you can kind of chill, whether you can go to a tech room to play games. There's all these different options. And so
Mhm.
the kids nowadays at my school will say, if a teacher's about to take a paw print and it's about to be their third one, they'll be like, "Can I have a lunch detention instead of a paw print?"
Trying to negotiate.
Because they love cougar time. And so that's a good thing that's helped at the campus cut down on behavior too. So that's another thing of with those newer teachers. Hopefully you have a campus that is supportive when it comes to
Mhm.
behavior in some type of way, that has, measures in place to help support the teachers, so that hopefully they don't ever get to those parent teacher conferences from the behavior standpoint. Now, from grades, academically, that's a different thing.
Mhm.
Which at the same time, parents should be checking their kids' grades, but that doesn't always happen before the parent teacher
Right.
conference. So, that's a whole another thing there with the academics.
Right. Yes. That because I'm like, hold on, you can log on at any time, day or night, and see these grades, and all of a sudden, right when the report card comes out,
Oh yeah.
it's a surprise.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
how is this?
Surprise.
How is it every single teacher in America has the same story?
I know,
that
right?
is that means it's an issue. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I do want to ask you about your experience um in I guess with other people mentoring you as a teacher. So did you have that when you first came in? Like who was a mentor to you? Like who helped you and what were some things that they taught you that you still use to this day, like some really practical things?
Um, so I did have a mentor when I started when I came back to teaching.
Mhm,
And so it was somebody, actually it was my team lead. So, you know,
mhm,
of course they paired me up with somebody that's in my team and stuff. But just to show me the ropes around the campus is mainly what she did. She helped me a lot with because that was when I was teaching English. So all kinds of cool writing techniques and, just to really get the kids involved in wanting to write.
mhm,
And helped me with a lot, gave me lots of ideas as far as like how to structure novel studies and stuff like that. And so those are
mhm,
some things that I carried with me even once I came to Allen when I first started, still being, ELA driven, so to speak,
mhm,
before teaching this current class that I teach now. And so
mhm,
those were some good practical things. I do love um, she helped me, and I'll say, I guess the whole team, is the way that we did it there is, yes, she was my mentor, but even as a group within that district, we were actually given like a couple of days, one day during the fall, one day during the spring, where we were able to plan out the rest of the semester that
mhm,
whole day. And so that helped me a lot, take that on to help me a lot as far as planning when I came into Allen, like being able how to use some of those same calendaring models that she taught me, or that team taught me, from that standpoint. One thing that I do love about her is she celebrated me a lot,
mhm,
and I've taken that, when I've had to be a mentor to people in the Allen Independent School District. And so it's good to celebrate your mentee, because they're doing, even if it's just a quick card to say, hey, you're doing a good job, because
mhm.
it's a lot to come in and to have to be like, here's this, I'm new to the district, I'm maybe new to teaching, here's this new person that's helping me, I have all of these things, and just every now and then just to be celebrated. But I think a lot of the practical things was just really, really, she taught me how to really, really get to know my students, and in this
Mhm,
new, different day and age, because again, this was me returning in 2018 from leaving, education back in like 2003 or whatever. So
mhm.
it was a lot. But I think just being really organizing the planning, from that standpoint, and getting really to know my students.
Awesome. I had a really good, my team lead. So it's kind of funny how it wasn't like an official mentor,
Hmm.
but it ended up being my team lead at my first school that was just amazing. And I was that type of person where I'm very much like, I'm a self-starter. I take initiative. So I like to try to find things out on my own.
Me
And
too.
it's hard for me to ask for advice all the time. And especially if I'm in a new place and and I see how chaotic it was. I didn't want to bother her all the time. So I would first try to figure stuff out on my own. And then if I felt like, okay, wait, I need some advice. And so I was going through some pretty kind of serious stuff, right? And I wanted to talk to somebody, but I didn't know who I could talk to because I didn't want to seem like I was being messy, but I also didn't um want to kind of be going through this and I was like, "Oh, goodness, I'm so stressed out." There was like a and I just didn't know what I didn't know. I felt kind of secluded. And it basically centered around kind of like this weird mistreatment from my host teacher that I had at that particular time. And so I'm in this new place. I'm not sure how to handle it. It was that lowercase p politics that I was dealing with.
Hmm.
So I didn't want to just be like, hey, this person's doing this. Cause I'm like, well, maybe is it something I always reflect on myself. Like, what am I doing? Maybe it's something like it's my face
Right.
looking crazy. Like, I didn't know
Hmm.
until I got a phone call offline. I was just driving home and it was like an hour drive to the house. And I was just like, man, I'm so ready to be out of this lady's classroom. I just remember thinking that every single day. And I got a phone call. I'm like, why is she? It was my team lead calling me. And I'm like, why is she calling me? She's never called me
Yeah.
ever. And I answer and she was like, hey, how you doing? And I'm like, I'm good. how are you? You know, because you can
Like,
always tell when somebody calls you for a reason. You're
exactly.
like, hey, I'm good. She's
Wait
like,
a
yeah, I'm
minute.
just calling. I've never like asked to like check on you, how you're doing and everything. I'm like, I'm doing good. Cause I'm not about to just vomit, you know, like I want to
Yep.
and tell you everything that I'm like, it's, you know. And she was like, oh, you sure you got everything's good? And she kept asking. And I'm like, is she asking for a reason? You know, like so then I started getting this, that little still voice said,
Yes.
tell her what's happening. And I was like, oh no, I don't want to, you know, I'm gonna be messy. I don't want there to be some type of retaliation.
Mhm.
Um, and then I said, look, it's this, but I don't want, you know, I told her, like, look, I don't want this to turn into a thing. Like, I don't want to be a soap opera at my school.
Mhm.
And I told her what was happening. And she said, thank you, because I wanted to talk to you about that. Like, she already
Already
knew.
knew. See? Yep.
And I was like, what? She says, yes, but we weren't sure how you felt about it. Like, people had been talking about the whole situation and trying to figure out how to get me out of her class before she even called me. And so
Wow.
she called me with a solution. She said, look, I've talked to the principal. We're going to do this, 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 and this. So when you go back, it's not going to look like, you know, you're just leaving because you don't like it there. You're going to be just put in another classroom, yada, yada, yada. And I said,
Right.
okay. Like, I love that she gave me a solution. She gave me a great pep talk. She says, look, you're not the first person to have experienced this, but we finally kind of got a way to get around it because
Right.
it's sensitive, you know. It's
Yeah.
like when you're dealing with feelings, you know, and you're
Right.
and people saying things, you're like, is it my interpretation of that? Or because I pick up on energy and I'm like, and
Mhm.
sometimes it's hard to explain energy to other people,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, and so I'm not gonna just work in the feelings and knowing that I'm gonna have to explain this to somebody that maybe doesn't have that type of gift. Like I have
Mhm.
this gift of
Yeah.
discernment
Yeah.
and I know I do, but
Mhm.
somebody else doesn't know that. Okay, like how do I fix this?
Right.
Yes, and Miss Gladys, she says culture in the school is a real thing, and
Yes.
that showed me that that team was on top of it. They were
Mhm.
behind me. I was a
Mhm.
brand new teacher. I had only been there a few months. And the
Right.
fact that they were going out of their way to make sure that, no, we need more teachers like her. You know, like they
Right.
knew I
Yeah.
was a valuable part of the
Yeah.
team. And so they
That's
came with a
important.
solution.
Yeah. You want to feel
Yes.
supported. And I feel like that's why we have so many teachers leaving now because teachers just
Mhm.
don't feel supported, whether
Right.
it be by other teachers, whether it be by administrators, whether it be by politicians,
Hmm.
okay, or the state.
Yes.
Um, I'm just putting it out there. You
Yeah.
know, teachers don't feel supported, and we're losing a lot of teachers because of that. And so it's good when you have those mentors that um, get to know you. Just how we teach to the, my philosophy's always been I'm teaching to the whole child. I'm meeting the
Right.
student where they are. I'm teaching to the whole child. We want our mentors to mentor us, you know, right where we are, but
A whole
then
person.
a whole person. Yes, you know,
Hmm.
the whole, not just Tammy the teacher, but Tammy the person who, you
Hmm.
know, comes to school with personal issues, whatever it is. I mean, sometimes we're just tired, you know,
Hmm.
and you know, different, we have those different times within the year where we're like ebbing and flowing, like at the beginning in August where
Right.
I'm like, oh, I'm so glad you're here. Come on
Yes.
in. And then by like right before, of course, we now have a fall break and
Yes.
Alan, which is great. But then around Thanksgiving, we're like, oh, Jesus, Lord, do I need to start tweaking my
Get them.
resume? Like, Lord,
Right.
what? Oh, help me, Father. You know, all of that. Like, you just call it on the name of the Father, the Son, and the
Yes.
Holy Spirit to get you through to
Right.
Thanksgiving. Okay. And it's just, it's a lot. And then you know, you have that break and you come back. And so it just,
Mhm.
it's hard. And so if we know we can have that extra support, even if it's just the fun things that
Right.
you know that our administrators do. I saw that this year. Not that we haven't done fun things, but I think it's good when you have those. I'm sure y'all take them at y'all's campus too. The little climate surveys for the campus
Oh,
to
yeah.
what did
Uh-huh.
we do well, what didn't we do, and so this past year, I think being at my current middle school, I just felt like staff were really celebrated a lot more, and it was
Mm.
great. It was very uplifting and empowering. It just made you really feel seen, you know, just the fun
Mhm.
stuff, just to act silly. I mean, I act silly with my students and
Yeah.
have fun, and they know when we can laugh and we can't.
Right,
And
yeah.
so it's good for them to see the teachers connecting and doing that as well with each other. I think it's important for students to see the connection of the teachers as well on campus.
Y Yeah, so you talked about how you kinda noticed that change in, how your, like, how the teachers were celebrated. What were some of the differences that you noticed that really kinda made a difference in how you felt being
Um,
celebrated?
I don't feel like before and everybody doesn't celebrate birthdays, right? But this
Mm.
past year, they actually made it a point to they took pictures of us. So you had the August birthdays, the September, like each month, people were highlighted. Of
Awesome.
course, you have your para of the month, you have your staff teacher or your teacher or staff member of the month, and they
Mhm.
got their own little parking spots and stuff like that. And those are things that actually staff we vote on, we nominate people and we
Yeah,
vote on
awesome.
that or whatever. But even the things like the administrators, I felt like it was we celebrated every national day. I'm like, I didn't know that was a national day. We had the
Right.
pancake that they're making pancakes in there. The
Wow.
principals, like stuff like that, waffles, and it was something for I can't even think of all the things, but it was stuff
Mhm.
like that, like the National Pancake Day, or even our instructional coaches coming by and getting like we had a little snack, like they had all this little snack mix where you could make yourself a little snack mix where it was like Chex Mix and M&Ms and all, even just in the mid morning,
Mm,
just stuff like that, just
I
a
like
little
that.
pick me up. Things like that, celebrating birthdays, getting a free jeans day because it's your birthday, whatever.
Aw.
Just those little fun things. And then, of
Mhm.
course, the dress up days and stuff like that. And I felt like my principal more this year than ever gave us more jeans days. I mean, I didn't
Mm.
even use a lot of my passes that I won because we had some free jeans days.
Wow, yeah, right.
And sometimes I don't always like to wear jeans, but just having the option there is nice.
Mhm.
Because I do like to dress up, not necessarily, dresses and heels and stuff, but
Yeah,
in something other than
something
jeans all the
different.
time. Yeah, something different. But even just those fun things,
Mhm.
just celebrating staff more, getting
Mhm.
us together more, whether it was a quick lunch whether they catered in a quick lunch for us to do, or
Mhm.
PTA did some. Our PTA is amazing at my school.
Oh,
Amazing.
awesome.
Amazing.
I
Yeah.
swear a good PTA will
Girl, listen. Listen, this PTA, yes, amazing. So
yes.
when it's time for us to get together to do gift bags and stuff, like each team
Mhm.
does that, I ran to the store to go get some gift cards
Mhm.
to be able to give back to them because they are amazing year round, for us. Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
You know what? One thing that I loved of like that made it kind of different as far as like how we were celebrated at my last campus. When they had like the little celebratory days where it was like either donuts or kolaches or something like that, our admin would just get a cart and go around the school. So you didn't have to leave your classroom and go all the way down the
That is
hall.
so great.
Like,
Mhm.
I loved it.
Yep.
Like that I told them, I said, "This is small, but it made a big difference." I didn't have to take, like, another 2 minutes to go across the school to the teacher's lounge,
Exactly. Or do
come
it on
back
your
to
conference, and then by the time you
right.
get there, everything's gone.
Right, it's been touched on and breathed.
Right?
I'm like, like, just
Yes.
come to my and, like, they would come to the
Yes.
door in their carts, "Hey, just pick something, just pick a
That's
snack."
what I'm talking
And
about.
I'm like,
Yes.
I like this. And then, of course,
Mhm.
little crumb snatchers. "Miss Hill, can I have some?"
Oh,
Like, do you really think I'm gonna give you some of the and I have 30 of you all in here. I don't have enough for everybody.
yes,
Always begging.
exactly.
I'm not
Yes,
begging
yes.
begging people. But yeah, that was a small and I made sure to tell my admin that like that was really impactful.
Mhm.
Just that one thing just coming around with the treats to our
Right.
classrooms. And so they did that pretty much every time, unless it was like, the stuff in crock pots or if we had a
Oh,
potluck.
yeah.
But if it was
Yeah.
like the snack time or donut
Yeah.
time, they rolled it around and it was amazing. Or the drink.
Mhm.
Sometimes they would come around. And at our PTA, this was totally different from our last school, but they at the beginning of the year took our favorite Sonic drink
Us too. Yes.
and they just it's like randomly through the year, "Hey, you got your Sonic drink down here?"
Mhm.
They would come around with our Sonic drinks, and I'm just like, and I don't even drink Sonic all the time, but girl, that strawberry limeade would hit, and it was like
Okay.
the perfect pick me up.
Listen, or as the some of the 7th grade say, it was bust. It was
It was
bust.
bust.
It's
It was
bust,
bust
Miss
and
P. It
bust.
was bust.
And I will be in the middle of a lesson. I'm like, hold on, let me get a sip of my my root
I
44.
know, I know, I know. That's great. I
Yes.
know. Just having those things delivered and stuff. And then, we were
Mhm.
really, our PTA really took care of us for Teacher Appreciation Week,
Uh-huh.
which is great because you want to make sure that, teachers get celebrated. Because, yeah, the kids sometimes bring things, but sometimes, kids aren't able to afford or families aren't able to afford and
Right.
do so. At least you're making sure that teachers get something, some type of
Right.
thank you or something like that. So, which was great.
Right. And I just want to let any parents that are watching know, like, if when it comes to teacher appreciation, you do not have to go all out. I've gotten something as small as a little post-it note from a parent that I
Mhm.
never really heard from all year. And she was like, look, I work double shift. I'm a nurse, but I just want to let you know I love you as my child's teacher. I was just like,
Mhm.
oh,
Yeah.
like,
Those are the things I like to I hold on to all the notes. Yes, I
yes.
love to give card
Yeah.
my kids know
Hoarder.
I
I'm a
love me
hoarder.
they know I love me some Starbucks, okay? They just know.
Yes. The
But, uh,
shmoney.
what but I like to keep I mean, I have cards from years I keep all of that stuff, and
Yeah.
so those are the things even when my kids students have emailed and said, "Miss P, I just wanna say thank you for being a great
Mhm.
teacher," I print out the email.
Yes.
And I keep it, you keep those things because, again, like I say, when you have those moments, and I think we all do, to where we leave and you're like, It's been the worst week."
Yes.
Every student has tried it with you, and you're like, Again, Lord, why,
Yes.
why do I
Why?
even do this? Why do I even do this? And
Uh-huh.
I've literally cried, why am I doing this? And then when you
Mhm.
get those notes like that, then that's the Holy
Yes.
Spirit letting you, this is why you're doing it. This
Yes.
one did. Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
goodness, I swear it's just the most amazing thing. You just get those
Yeah.
little notes, and I think one year,
Mhm.
forget which school it was, but it was so smart because, our I think it was our AP, they gave us all these envelopes, really nice cards, and said, "Hey, just write a letter to yourself, write a note to yourself, about how you're feeling right now, and, like, just a pep talk to yourself." And we had to give it back to them. And then, randomly through the year, they would put it in our boxes. And I had totally forgotten because on the outside of my envelope, I put, Mrs. Hill, and I put little decorations on there, little squigglies. And so I see this envelope. I'm like, who wrote this letter? Girl, I had forgotten I had written it to myself. And so I go in my classroom and I'm reading. I'm like, oh, like the tears just came down because it
Mhm.
was like exactly what I needed. That was such a good idea because everybody got their notes back at different times of the year.
Yeah,
And it
when
was
you
the
needed
perfect
it.
timing. I said, whatever
Mhm.
y'all are doing in your little PhD program,
I know,
whatever, it
keep
had to be
doing
some
it.
kind of project,
I know,
a
I
little case
know.
study or something.
Exactly, exactly,
I
which is
loved it.
great. Yeah, yeah,
I
we
love
need those
that.
nuggets. Definitely need those nuggets. I always say, yes, we have, like, this year I had 157, 160 students, and yes, you want to reach all of them in some type of way. But my whole thing is, if I can break through to at least that one that has just been doing the most, then
Mhm.
I've done my job.
Right.
For that year. Yeah.
Okay, so tell me what are some things that you've noticed, like some of like the top mistakes that first year teachers make that you've noticed in your tenure as a teacher?
Um, I would say not having first of all, feeling like they can't make any mistakes, like they're too hard on themselves for all of the
Hmm.
things. I would say second of all, not having a sub binder ready. Like,
Oh,
you can't
really?
just, yeah, you
I thought that
cannot
was like a
have
thing. Like you have to have that before school starts.
we should.
Okay.
Everybody should. And I think that kind of goes back to the mentor helping you, making sure that's in place too. But all they can really do is tell you this is what you need to have. They can't
Right.
necessarily, they may not have the time to come back and say, well, let me see it. But
Mm,
I think first year, that not having a sub binder, I think another large mistake is not learning your students. And I'm not meaning in the way of like knowing what little Johnny likes to eat and this and that, but knowing your students. Like at the beginning of the year, we get a roster. You know who your students are as learners, whether it's
Mhm.
looking at old scores or you're looking at accommodations and all those things. You
Mhm.
have to know your learners and know whatever it is, whatever accommodations they need. It's the law.
Mhm.
And I
Right.
feel like lots of teachers don't, or first time teachers, first year teachers, um, don't pay enough attention to that at the beginning. Yes, things change, but at the beginning of the year, I feel like you have to really get to know your students and how they learn. But I think that's a big mistake there. The sub binders, the thinking you're going to be perfect. And then I think not being persistent enough um,
What do you mean
when
by
it
that?
when it comes to classroom management.
Oh,
And
okay.
that's even teachers, I think, that have been in the game for a while, but just making sure that you continue to stay on top of your kids when it comes to your expectations and all of those things. And I think sometimes, um, because of lack of experience, some teachers just after a while they get tired and they just
Mm.
don't keep that, hammering into Johnny. No, no, yeah, this is the 45th time that I've told you, but I'm going to tell you 46 times if I need to. Like, sit
Right.
down, that type
Mhm.
of stuff. I think those are the main things, but really, I mean, the sub binder thing is a big thing. I've seen teachers where they
Wow.
just don't have anything in place. And
Mm.
nowadays, because everything is one to one and most everybody have, we all have devices and stuff, we can't just pull out. Like back when I started teaching in 99, we just pulled that. We had papers in a file
Mhm.
cabinet, like old lessons that we could pull out if we were absent, and we would just leave for the sub, here, give them this to complete or whatever. You can't
Mm.
necessarily do that nowadays.
Mm-mm.
It's way different. So that's like a big, 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 big thing. Making sure that you have good classroom management and that
Mhm.
you have that sub binder in place. Your students.
Wow. So, yes, that classroom management is, I mean, of course, you have a whole class around it. And when I went through like my undergrad program, you don't really get it until you have had your own classroom, honestly.
Yep.
Um, and even though, you do your student teaching, you get a taste of it, but it's still not your classroom. You still have like, you're still operating under your host teacher's procedures, right?
Hmm. Yep.
But I mean, what are like some of give us maybe an example or two of some of your procedures that you created, and like the before and after, like the issue that you were having and then the procedure that you had to create for it.
So I noticed when I first started to, well, I'll say coming back into teaching, I noticed a lot of with middle schoolers because, they're coming in, the tardy bell's ringing and all, they're trying to beat the tardy bell and all that. I noticed too much, there were too many students that were up talking and like out of their seats before
Mhm.
the tardy bell rang.
Mhm.
Talking to little Johnny, doing stuff, and just the bell's ringing and they're just now trying to go back to their seats and all of this stuff. And so what I started doing and what has worked well for me, I do this with all my classes, is my students know when they come in, there are directions on the board that says, come in and sit in your assigned seat. You need this next, you need that. You need to make sure that you are in your seat and you're prepared before the tardy
Mm.
bell rings.
Yes.
And so students need that structure. And so at the beginning, I saw a lot of, what is going on here? And I think a
Mhm.
big part of it is when I returned to teaching, I returned into the year. So the students who I taught already had a teacher before me. And so, of
Oh,
course, they
wow.
were already thinking, oh, we've she's already talked to us for like 2 weeks or so about how she liked things. So now we have this new teacher. So now we have to kind of get used to her. And so I think when I came in, I kind of, surveyed the land and kind of saw how things were working. And I'm like, this is not, they didn't have any structure. Like we got some structure. So
Mhm.
that's my thing now that I have as far as structure goes. Another thing that I've done with my classroom management, which worked well. So my students know. So as soon as that tardy bell rings, it's quiet. everybody's prepared. And if my students aren't, remember, if they aren't, I told you about that Cougar card that they have. I take a paw print. If you're not prepared, if your Chromebook is not on your desk closed, that's a paw print. Now, another thing that I've done when it comes to Chromebooks, during my class, we have at the beginning what is called Take 10. And this is 10 minutes for the kids. It helps me too. I'm just going to be honest. Okay.
Right.
It helps the kids. We have flexible seating in our room. So I have a couch in my room. I have high, like bar stool, high top tables. I have bean bags that are my own. I have rockers that recline. I have all these different things in my room, right? So they have the time where they can go to the couch, they can lay down, they can take a quick 5-minute nap, whatever. Okay. They also can work on their computer if they need to, if they're work, because, I support them academically. So I want to make sure. Sometimes the teacher will say, can you help little Bob turn in his assignment because he didn't turn it in last night? So they may have sent me an email the night before and I want to help that student turn it in during Take 10. Well, I let them use their Chromebooks. However, because during that Take 10, we started seeing so many games, people playing games and all that stuff. It was me and some of my other teachers. I started doing, and now we're all doing it, I started doing a Chromebook pass. So I have a big yellow card. It's like cardstock. It's just a table tent that says Pleasant Chromebook Pass. And so whenever I call for Chromebook passes during Take 10, those students who need it can get it from me. However, they have to tell me what it is they're working on. And if what I see on my screen as I'm looking in GoGuardian, because, we can look at their screens, if I see something different, if I see something, you working on something different than what you told me you were working on, then of course I'm going to lock your computer. I'm going to take the Chromebook pass and you're not going to be allowed to use it, to have a Chromebook pass for the rest of that quarter. And so that has helped a lot. Those two things, making sure that they're ready as soon as the bell rings and they're prepared. And then during Take 10, only the people who need their computers have them out, but it's only after they have gotten a pass and have gotten permission from me. And they have to turn that computer pass in when they see the minute, when it starts counting down to a minute, that Chromebook pass has to be on my desk before it hits 0, because we got to move on to the next thing. I don't have time for Take 10 to be over and 2 minutes later, you're like, oh, let me go put this pass. That's 2 minutes we don't wasted on instruction. You ain't my time. I got things to teach you.
I could have gone through my hook for my next lesson during that 2 minutes.
Come on. That's what I'm saying. Yes.
I love that. I love the Chromebook. I'm gonna have to probably use that one because I found out I'm gonna have in my new school, they gave us like a classroom set of Chromebooks, where at my last school we had to share with another class.
Oh wow.
And so that was a little different. It was, and it was and with 5th graders, it's funny because when we shared Chromebooks, I made sure everybody had a number, and it was really alphabetical order. So my first block, when you got finished, you had to make sure you put your Chromebook up, once the timer is coming down and we had like maybe 3 minutes left, you had to start putting your Chromebooks up and plugging them in, right? Because when my second class came, they were only there for maybe 15 minutes and then we went straight to lunch. So during that time, the Chromebooks are charging up. I had everybody in alphabetical order. So people knew if I was number one on first, whoever's number one first block, I'm sharing the computer with them. And they had to, make sure they use their login. The students, they were quick to tell on each other. Miss Hill, they didn't plug in their computer. Because I told them, I said, if you go in there and if you're putting yours up and you see somebody forgot to plug theirs in, don't just leave it there, plug it in.
Plug it in, exactly.
Yeah, and maybe tell the person like, hey, you forgot to plug your Chromebook in. Don't come tell me anything. You need to tell your peer. They're the ones that need to remember that. Right. So I tell them, make sure you know who did it. But they were so quick to tell on each other. Your last class, they kind of weird because they have like a little thing, it was like a little slight competition I put between my classes on behavior, because I would, it was really a way for me to kind of manipulate them being better.
Yeah, well, give them some incentive,
That was their incentive. Like they might come in, I'm like, yeah, it was a little rough. And I probably didn't even have a rough time, but I'd be like, y'all, Ooh, that last class, they ran me ragged. I
Mhm.
need y'all to give me some grace. And they would just be like, okay, Miss Hill, we're gonna be good. I'm like, yes, I got them.
I know. Look, whatever
I
works.
got them. And get that Chromebook, and they would turn, Miss Hill, those kids ran you ragged. I see why they didn't plug in their Chromebook. Like, let's
Mhm.
write down the name. And I wouldn't do anything. I'm like, okay, y'all need to tell each other that. But
Right, right.
I'm so
Hold each
glad
other
this year.
accountable. Hold each other accountable.
Yes.
That's what
Yes,
we teach a lot.
we're a
Yep.
little
In my
family.
class. Yep. Hold each other
We are a
accountable.
little family. And
Hmm.
but this year I'm so happy to have my own set in the classroom. Like, oh yes, thank you. When my
That's
principal told me,
good.
I'm so happy because I'm in a smaller district now.
Yeah.
So, but we're growing really quickly. And so now more and more of the class, they had to order so many um Chromebooks last year because
Mhm.
we've grown so quickly.
Wow.
But it's still, growing pains. We have to wait on them. We have to be patient.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now that I found out, oh yes, I'm going to have my own Chromebooks, and
That's
our
good.
students are not allowed to take them home.
Oh,
That is the
okay.
difference because when
Okay.
I was at a different district at Denton ISD, the students were able to take them home. And of course, it's a bigger district, so I understand.
Yeah.
However, oh my goodness, every day somebody forgot their charger. And we
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
they took
Yep.
away our chargers in the classroom. I think I had like 2 chargers in the classroom. One was for my Chromebook, my
Yeah,
teacher
that's what the
Chromebook.
kids all the time be like, Miss P, do you have a charger? I'm like, nope. And that's another thing. We take a paw print. If you're asking
Really?
to charge
You're
your
not prepared.
Chromebook in first period, you didn't charge your Chromebook last night. You were
Mhm.
supposed to plug it in. So I took paw prints and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, that's the issues we always remind them. Charge your Chromebook overnight.
Yes.
Bring your charger to school. Like all of those things of being, responsible. So
Right, exactly. I'm like,
yeah.
you have to be prepared. I said, what if I would say like, what if I came to school today and I didn't have my stuff? Like, what would we do?
Yeah, exactly.
We have to start training you to be responsible.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah,
Exactly.
Chromebooks is like it can be a gift and a curse. So, any
Mhm.
tips? I'm so glad you gave the tips about, the
Yes,
take
the
10.
Chromebook pass, and yeah, during Take
Yes.
10, because it's like no matter how many times we tell them, if you need to use your computer, you can, but it has to only be you working on work. You still have the
Mhm.
students that were trying to play a game or doing,
Yeah,
it's like, no, it needs to be academic related,
right.
so that has really helped. And I'm going to keep that going.
Right.
Again, yeah, it really helped a lot.
And Go Guardian is something that I had not heard of until I came to Texas.
Hmm.
I don't know who developed it, but they are smart.
Yeah.
Because I remember for a while I did not even use my Go Guardian because I'm trying to trust my kids because
Mm-mm.
I would tell them, right, that was okay. Another first year teacher, I'm gonna trust them. I'm
Right.
gonna trust them.
Yeah.
Nope, I treat them all like no, just treat them like they lying to you from
Yeah.
the get
I
go, and
mean,
then you got to ease into
yep.
the trust with me
Yep,
now.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
when they taught us how they did the Go Guardian training and I first started using it, I said, "Oh," and they thought I didn't because they knew I hadn't been using it for a while. And so when I
Mhm.
started using it, I didn't tell them.
Mhm.
And I started using it, and then I'm like, these kids are just on everything in my classroom.
Everything. And it's good. We teach the kids, and I had to teach them too. I'm like, y'all, it's not just for us to watch you, but it also helps them. Like some kids, you go to their computer, they have a question, and it's like when I was teaching English, they have 15 tabs open. Well, this
Yeah,
is why you're overwhelmed, boo. You
right.
have 15 tabs. You don't even know where's the research you were doing for this, like
Yes.
where is it on the tab and all that. So I set tab limits. I had students have the nerve to be like,
Mhm.
can you please expand it to more than 4 tabs? No. Can you close the tab and keep it moving,
Right.
please? Because you give them 4 tabs and that's it. You better be glad you getting that.
Right.
So, I do that. I schedule my classes too, because sometimes I've had it happen in the past where all teachers don't schedule their
Right.
classes in Go Guardian. Some don't know how to. And so
Um,
I taught some teachers how to do that. And what happens is when they come to your class, they're still under a different scene from their
oh,
teacher because
yep.
they just started it. They didn't end it. And so
Mhm.
I schedule mine if, first period starts at 8:20, first period's from 8:20 to 9:07.
Right.
So mine is from 8:20 to 9:07. As soon as the bell rings at 9:07, when they go to second period
Mhm.
class, they don't have an issue with something on Go Guardian in my class because it automatically ends. And so I think that's been the struggle with some teachers. They're using it, but they don't know all of those little things,
Mm.
to do, like setting the tab limits. You can
Mhm.
block certain things. As soon as I see another game, I'm like, oh, they
Block.
got around this. I copy and paste it. Blah. They're like, wait
Right.
a minute, what happened?
When you start seeing all of them look up, they're like
That part. Wait,
like
what?
little prairie dogs.
Yes.
I'm like,
And
"Oh, what's going on?"
yeah, and then you're able to chat with them and tell them. I'll usually put in there and be like, you need to get back to work. This is your only warning.
Mhm.
Next, I'm going to lock your computer because obviously you don't want to work. So
Right.
I'm just lock your computer, you know.
Mhm.
But yeah, Go
Exactly.
Guardian is the best.
I love Go Guardian. There was one thing I started doing, and this is really when I got a mentee he was a first year teacher, and so what I did is that I had him give me all of his because he had to kind of miss several days, so I had his students added to some scenes for me. So when a sub
Yes,
came,
that's the
I
best
was able
thing.
to close their stuff
Mm-hmm.
because we both taught the same subject. And so I had all that scheduled. Now it was a lot at first, but once they started seeing how was my stuff getting, because they didn't know how their tabs
Yes.
were closing. They didn't know what, because he was downstairs and I was upstairs. But
Mm-hmm.
every so often I would look, and sometimes I would leave a note for the sub, like, hey, just call this extension if you see something they're not supposed to be doing, or if you see them on a game or something, and they would call like, hey, I see such and I would just look at the scene. Oh, I know who it is. And they're like, wow, you can do that. I'm like, yep, I can. And the
Yes.
students did not know. So that's something that I kind of tell like other, like if I ever get another mentee, like, like go ahead and
Yep.
give me your student,
Yeah,
your
you can
class
add
set.
a co-teacher. Yeah, you can add a
Mm-hmm.
co-teacher and all that stuff, which is great. I've even I remember, was it last year? I think it was last year. I ended up with COVID and was home. And
Oh
so I felt
goodness.
fine. But guess
Hmm.
who was online shutting kids' screens down?
You,
Me.
I've done that
They were
before.
like, yes. I'm just like, really? So I'm like, let me just, log on and see just checking on them. First of all, I was making sure a lot of them, it was a little, we also use Canvas. I don't know. I know some people use Google
Yeah.
Classroom, but we're Canvas. So we use Canvas. And so I was making sure that, because I also schedule my lessons to go
Mm.
live at a certain time. And so there was one I was checking on, and it was my set, because last year I taught 7th and 8th grade English. And so it was my
Mm-hmm.
7th grade advanced students. And so I was checking on something for them and happened to see them playing games. They had the lesson open, but a couple people were playing games. And so I closed it down and sent a whole chat to the entire class and said, yes,
Mm.
I'm out sick today. However, please make sure that you are staying on task because I can see what you're doing at home too. And then they
Wow.
forget we can run reports. Even if I don't log on at
Yes.
home, I automatically get reports. And so it also is going to tell me what
Mm-hmm.
you were looking at, or what, if you were deviated from what you were supposed to be
Right.
working on. So,
Girl,
yeah, I know.
I had one student, this was last year. Why is it this child? Once they saw I was using Go Guardian consistently,
Mhm.
this was the first day too, like the first day that I just used it, that they all kind of realized like, whoa, Miss Hill is really using Go Guardian. Why did this child Google how to get around Go Guardian or how
Yep.
to unlock Go
You know how
Guardian?
to.
And I'm
Yes.
looking at it, and so then he's on YouTube looking at
Mhm.
Kobe Bryant stuff,
Mhm.
and I copied and pasted, and it took like his parent. I sent it to his parents,
Yeah.
and I had a really good relationship with his parents, and so I also texted them like, "Hey, I'm about to send you something. He's not in super trouble, but just like mention it when he gets home today." So he looked up. He said, "How did you know?" I'm like, first of all, you're up here Googling how to get around Go Guardian. I'm looking
Mhm.
at you like, why do you?
Yes. So many of the kids still know how, and we have some where it'll say content, it'll say restricted,
Hmm.
and some of the kids just, they know how to get around. It'll say monitoring restricted on there. And so
Yeah.
that's when you know that the kids are kind of knowing how to work their way around. But
Mhm.
even though I have the Go Guardian, I'm still old school where I will occasionally walk the class and kind of
Yeah.
peek over it to make sure what you are doing, because the kids also know how to freeze their screens too. That's another thing that we noticed. I think it was last year, where
Mm.
what we're seeing on Go Guardian is not what they're doing on their screen.
Right.
And so
Mhm.
they're freezing it to look like they're working, but then when you don't see the mouse moving and all that stuff, then it's like,
Mhm.
oh, this is what we're doing. So a lot of kids ended up in ISS for that, but yeah.
Mhm. Like, y'all, I need y'all to be trying to figure out how to write a paper, not
I know, I know. It's
how do I need to make sure my sentences are complete in this essay?
exactly, and
Mhm.
not writing how we text with abbreviations and,
Emoji.
yes, yes. It's yeah, education is definitely evolving and lots of challenges with AI and all kinds of stuff when it comes to
Uh-huh.
writing and oh, Lord help.
Yes, yes. Very, very rough. Very, very a lot of changes. Well, first of all, I'm gonna go ahead and close this down. I really, really appreciate everything that we've talked about today, like how you transition from corporate America to teaching and some of the obstacles that you've faced, ways that you've overcome your classroom management. I just really, really have enjoyed our conversation. So give me like one tidbit that you want to give a new teacher. This is their first or second year. Give them some advice that they can take with them today.
Okay. Some advice, just come in willing and being energetic, willing to know your students, to learn your students, to love on your students, to um, get to know their parents as well, and know that you are going to make mistakes. That's all a part of growing and learning. And it's okay to fail. But it's not okay to fail and to keep doing it over and over again. Okay. So you're going
Mm-hmm.
to fail, but let's go back and revisit why maybe this lesson didn't work out this time for this group of students, and how maybe you can tweak that to make it better for next time. I would also say that education is evolving and changing, and we're more into technology and all of these things. And so you have to be able to move with the times. You have to be able to grow with the times and to get out of your comfort zone and do those
Mm-hmm.
things. But most of all, just have fun and know that we need you. Other educators need you. Your students need you. The world needs you. So you've got this.
Yes.
We've
Oh,
got
thank
this,
you.
Rose.
Yes, we got this. Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta preach to myself too. Yes, we got
Yes.
this.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me. This was great.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us today. I want you to have a great rest of your evening and a great rest of your summer break
Thank
too.
you. You too. All
All
right.
right.
Bye.
Bye. All righty. Wasn't that a great, great conversation, y'all? I'm really inspired today, like, going from one career to the next. And those tidbits about classroom management. So like I'm gonna definitely take that Chromebook pass. I'm gonna take that. And that take 10. I'm gonna try to find a way to incorporate that into my class next year. What about you? So, next, okay, so we finished our interview. What I have coming up next is just a way for you to help organize yourself this summer if you're a teacher. And even if you're not a teacher, you may be able to use this tool that I'm going to show you. And if you want it, I can definitely send you a link. So, we're going to take a quick break just for about 3 minutes. We're going to take a break. And then I'm going to come right back and show you this planning tool that I have that can help you plan leading up to the next school year. All right. So see y'all in a bit. for sticking by our side. Hi, thanks, Miss Pleasant. Awesome. Thanks so much. Okay, so I have something I want to share with you all. If you are a first year teacher, or if you're just someone that's working in a school district trying to kind of organize yourself, I have this dynamic calendar that I use to help collaborate with my team members. And it's something that I think that other people could benefit from. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. Um, Let me show you this really quickly. So, it's basically a calendar that you can keep through the year. And what I do, like during the summer, I basically create my calendar with the holidays that are coming up in the next school year. And then I go ahead and try to look at what days that I might need to take off, especially people with kids, or, you might have doctor's appointments that you need to take during the year. You want to be very strategic about them, because I know most school districts, you don't get a lot of days built in off that are paid as a teacher. So I want to show you this. It's going to be just a quick tool that you could have. And if you want me to send you a copy of this tool, what I would like for you to do is you're going to just send me a note in my email. And you can also just post a comment and just say, hey, I want this tool, right? So let me share my screen, and let me let you see this. Okay. Of course, it's going to make me like do all this other stuff before I can share my screen. Let me take a look at this. Let's see here. And this just helps me every year. And I thought, like, this year I need something where I can just see everything I need at a glance, and it automatically added to added to my screen. So let me see here. Alrighty. So let me try to make this a little bit bigger. Okay, let's take a look at this. Hopefully you all can see it. If you can see what I'm showing here, just leave me a note saying, yes, I can see. I'm gonna go ahead and make it. All right, so if you take a look at this, it's a collaborative planning dynamic calendar. And basically what this means is that what I've created is you have a list on this side. So you can either put links to a lesson here, or some notes here, or the day that you're out. So what I do is I'm going to have this screen up, like I have my dynamic calendar up. And then since we have finally gotten, okay, thanks, Antonio, for letting me know that you could see it. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to have my calendar up on one side, and then I'm going to have my school district calendar that they just released, just so I can kind of see and, show you how I use this. So first things first, we have, let me see, I'm going to put the first date in, which is our first day back to school is going to be, well, I'll put in this. We have something called New Teacher Academy at our district, which I really love. And whoever came up with the idea is genius, because I've been at districts where they don't do this, but they basically teach all the new teachers in the district all the district norms. If you're a teacher and you've ever switched school districts, it's really important to kind of know like how that district does things. And so what my school district now does, they have a new teacher academy, and it starts on let me see, Thursday. No, it starts on a Monday, July 29th. So basically, I would go here to my calendar, and let's just say my first date I want to put in is the July, I think it was the 29th, right? So I'll double click here and a calendar pops up. So I'm going to go to July 29th. That's the last Monday in July. I click it, right? And then I'll put in here um, first day of YouTube Academy. Okay. And then, of course, once I put that there, I can put that there. And then let me see, like the last day is, I believe, August 1st. So I'll just put August 1st. Um, I'll double click again, go to my calendar and scroll. And of course, it automatically selects August 2024. So I'll go here to that Thursday, August 1st. And then I'll just put last day of New Teacher Academy. And you can put anything in there, y'all. So anything can go here, whatever you need. Um, so once I do that, let's scroll through this calendar here on the side. So as I'm going, as I get down to the 29th, it's automatically there. So, and then my last day of Teacher Academy. I love this because I can just put whatever I need here. Like, for instance, let's just say I have a lesson. Okay, so let me pull up a sample lesson I actually have a lesson that I'm finishing up. Uh, Here it is. Okay, so here, basically, what I would, and I could share this, of course, if you're familiar with the Google Workspace platform at your school, you can actually use this. Um, ooh, you can actually use this to link with whatever lessons that you've already put in your Google Drive. So let's just say I come here and I know like one of my first lessons might be like a narrative study, a narrative paper. And it might be like September. Let's just find a date here. See. So I'm just going to pick something random, September 18th. Okay. And then I'm going to double click here and put essay lesson. So I can type that there, and because I don't have enough space to put my entire lesson there, right? So all I would do is just double click here and then go up here to link it, and then type there, put in the link. And then, of course, y'all can see that I have a lesson on why Kendrick Lamar won the rap battle. So it's a persuasive link, persuasive writing lesson. But I just link it right there. So whatever teachers I collaborate with and we share this dynamic calendar, they can use this, right? So if you are interested in getting a link to your own copy of this, and using it for your own team at your school. Or you can use this at any other organization you might be in. You can just tweak it. Just leave a note in the comment, or you can shoot me an email at b.rose at pearlsofpedagogy.com. Okay. I'll put that in my comments there. And I'm just so excited. This is my first big interview, and we will have another coming up, I believe, this Saturday. So just keep a lookout on YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn on my next interview. And I want to thank everybody for showing up. And remember to just shoot me an email at b.rose at pearlsofpedagogy.com. Alrighty then. Well, I want y'all to have an awesome, awesome week. Thank you so much for showing up for me, and don't forget to show up for yourselves. Bye, y'all.